Entrepreneurially Thinking is a presentation of BioSTL and CET, Center for Emerging Technologies, with Rare Gem Productions, changing the way you view new ventures, including you on the pathway to success with your business in the St. Louis marketplace and beyond. Here's your hosts, Cheryl and Christy. Now let's get thinking entrepreneurially.
Welcome back to the Entrepreneurially Thinking podcast. Our goal is to magnify your entrepreneurial mindset and create pathways for business success in the St. Louis marketplace and beyond. I'm Christy Maxfield.
And I'm Dr. Cheryl Watkins-Moore. I lead our inclusion initiative for BioSTL for the region. Hey, girl.
How are you?
Ooh, we are pumping it along.
Yeah, there's lots going on. You just wrapped up Vision.
Woohoo!
We're going into planning for 2019.
Yes.
There's no rest for the weary.
And we don't have time.
No. And the guests we have
just
today,
like our guests. I was going to say, they don't have time
but
either.
they made time, so we're really excited.
Yes, we are happy that they're here. You guys will be happy to hear from them too, because they've already debuted here before. Now we're bringing them back to do some other cool stuff.
And we can do that thanks to the support of our founding presenting sponsors, CET and BioSTL. So we're really just excited to continue to have their support in now what is a 2-year podcast journey.
Wow.
And we're really thrilled that all of you have made it a priority to download and listen as well. So be sure as you catch up with our guests today, as well as all the other episodes that we have put out there for you, that you share with your friends and make sure that they can find us where you find us, wherever your favorite podcasts are available, iTunes, Spreaker, Facebook, LinkedIn, etc.
Wherever you are, we want to be.
Yes.
Take us with you.
And where are we today?
We are, last year, we introduced you to 2 young innovators who were starting tech-focused companies in the healthcare space. Melanie Igwe, the co-founder of Alirasoft, and Rachel Simon Lee, CEO and founder of Heartworks Videos. Guess what? They are back.
Yeah, and they've been really busy, and they were kind enough to agree to come on in and spend a little time with us and tell us what they've been doing.
Yes, so it's that time. They're going to give us an update on their progress. We'll see how their business is going. So we are so eager to check in with Melanie and Rachel, so stay listening.
CET, the Center for Emerging Technologies, is a proud founding sponsor of this Entrepreneurially Thinking podcast. We want you to know all about the great things they are up to. Square One offers 2 training options. Square One Ignite, a 4-week program created to help founders quick start their business model validation process. Or Square One Bootcamp, an in-depth 10-week, 50-hour program that combines formal instruction with hands-on learning, networking, and mentoring. To learn more about Square One Bootcamp or Square One Ignite, visit CETSTL.com. And for your renewed and continuing support, CET, we say thank you.
My name is Rachel Simon Lee. I'm the founder and lead editor at Heartworks Videos. And thinking entrepreneurially means trusting my gut, taking my time, and loving who I am 100% of that.
Melanie and Rachel, we are so glad that you guys are back and thrilled that you have made time to share with us your updates. For those of you who may not remember, Melanie's company, Alirasoft, is a digital health company developing software that centralizes health systems, medical equipment, and data on one platform so that we can find those EKG machines when we need them and all the other pieces of equipment throughout the hospital and make sure those assets are managed well. And Heartworks Videos is a unique resource for surgeons. Now, Rachel's been building this company that captures and edits the raw surgical footage in a high-quality educational video content. I have to say, because of your LinkedIn videos, I've seen more hearts than I ever would have thought.
Blame the algorithm.
I'm just saying. But if you want high-quality footage of the heart, we got your gal. But in the last year, you guys have been solid, full-on, full tilt in the startup experience, and we wanted to check in with you. So we're so glad you're here.
Yes. So who do we start with? That's the thing.
Melanie's pointing fingers. I think she just nominated Rachel.
That's funny. Sure, why not? Sure, why not?
So, we have different kinds of companies, but also different kinds of startup experiences, even though you guys have paralleled in a lot of the work that you're doing. So, Melanie's full-time on her venture, but Rachel, you're still doing a full-time job and building Heartworks in tandem with all that. So for the last year, how has that worked? Because, we all often coach and counsel people, don't quit your day job.
Right.
But it's also a lot of work to build two things at once, to have a career going and to be building your company. So what's that been like?
I was just talking to someone at Vision, and she was like, I want to quit my job. I want to do this startup. When is it a good time? And I told her, you'll never know. And I wouldn't have been able to tell her that last year because I had a goal in mind. I knew how much money I needed, and I knew the day that I was going to walk away. I had a month, and I just had this plan, and plans very rarely happen the way that you want them to in this venture.
As an
entrepreneur. But it has been great because I've labeled this year my year of patience. I had this really cool idea. I validated it. I've made some money. And now I have bigger ideas, and I have to be very patient to watch those things come to fruition.
But you've done in the last year, I think, where we probably left off with you, you were, engaging some of the surgeons. You were still trying to build outside of cardio, I believe. And since that time, what was it, in January, you were an invited guest down at what conference was this?
Society of Thoracic Surgeons.
So a big group of people squarely in your market.
Absolutely. So
she was invited as a feature on their program. So tell them about that.
Something like that. So one of the surgeons that I've been working with for years was doing a presentation, and they didn't have a lot of video presentations in the past, but now they're starting to have a lot more. And so when he submitted an abstract and it was accepted, he wanted to do a video presentation, and he said, Rachel, I want to use one of ours that we've worked on. And so that meant that, okay, Rachel, you need to be there. You need to see this in action, and you need to shake some hands, and you need to learn what is going on in this arena. And so I went for that, and it's almost like, I'm assuming how a feature film director is when they're watching their baby on the screen. My heart was just beating. I had seen it. You pray that the technology works, that nothing pauses. And it was just an overwhelmingly positive reaction from the crowd as well. Typically, when you go to these things, it's, slide after slide after slide, a lot of talking. And so, and physicians like to learn with case-based learning. So it was very engaging, and I had a really good response.
So getting that validation, a huge step in the progression of your company and really building your brand. Yeah. But you said that plans don't always go as planned, right? So was it that you didn't hit the revenue mark that you wanted? Did you just feel the need to take a step back and retool things? Like, sort of just wanted to understand a little bit more of how plans don't necessarily go as planned.
Yeah, I think you get this idea in your mind that if you had enough money, if you had the same amount of money that you make at your day job, that you could survive. Sure. But it's way more than money. It's your mind and your time and your energy. And so it has been a struggle of balance, because I don't want to have, at my my day job. But sometimes you want to come home, you want to get something to eat, and you want to relax. Right. And the only person that's going to hold you accountable for how well your business is doing is yourself. Sure. And so I'm really interested to hear Melanie's point of view about that. But, and then I'm at a place in my career, I'm 33. And I'll be 34 in December. And so I'm at
have another, what day?
11th.
Capricorn, are you a
Sagittarius?
See, here we go again. With the Sages. We're
our
rolling.
people.
Thank you. But I'm at a point in my career where I need to change direction from what I'm doing, and
from your business or
from my
your day job.
Yeah.
To grow.
Because I didn't get that, because I didn't hit that milestone of money. And to be completely transparent, I applied for Arch Grant. And I said, if I apply and I get it, then I'll be able to quit my job. And I didn't get that.
Okay.
So that put things into perspective too. Not to say that I wasn't worth it. That I mean, there are plethora of reasons why it didn't work out for me this time. But it was you're right. I mean, A, B, C, D, all of the above. It was.
But that wasn't your path.
Right.
You know, sometimes just because it worked for one person, that's not your path that you're meant to be on. So take that with a grain of salt.
For
I
sure.
just add that into
Melanie is on a different
Yes.
path, right? You've been full-time at Alirasoft pretty much from the time I met you, which
It's
is
been how
over a
long?
year.
It's been more than that.
Yeah, it's been over a year. So March 7th of next year will be 2 years.
Wow.
Like,
Okay.
because it's funny because, like, the stuff in 2016, like, when we pitched for Arch grants and stuff like that, like, when you're just getting your bearings, I don't even know if that time counts.
It counts.
I mean,
It all counts.
I don't know if it counts and the reason why is because, like, the amount of development that you have to go through and the shifts that you make personally, professionally, and it's like you're a completely different person.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that. I mean, the mindset piece is huge, and I think people underestimate what it means to go to a job at a certain place on a certain day and certain time and do a scope of work within that context versus coming up with the idea, executing the idea, being the one day to day that is responsible for driving all the momentum and being accountable to yourself.
Right.
Is that part of what you're speaking? I don't mean to put words in your mouth, but is that part of what that transformation entailed for you?
Yeah, because I mean, transformation is a key word, right? Because the way that I look at it and the way that I look at myself, like, I never thought that I would be this courageous. I never thought that I would completely be okay with rejection because it's not my path.
Come on now.
And I mean, having that kind of switch in mindset to say, like, it was really funny because I applied for all of these different programs for our company, right? One of them, we got like a group rejection letter, right? There was 240 people that were they were like, hey, we don't have time. Y'all didn't make it.
Oh, wow. They just sent everybody.
Just didn't care to BCC.
I was about to say,
God.
we see everybody, huh?
You got an instant support group out of that one.
Right.
Listen, it was to whom it may concern. You didn't get it.
You didn't get it.
Y'all can go home.
Yes.
Thanks, but no thanks.
Actually, I'm sitting at home and I'm looking at this laughing, whereas literally, like, the next day, we, like, get into a competition that, like, is pretty much going to guarantee us, like, $100K on very, very favorable terms. So the way that I just look at things is so different. And even with our business, we, like, did, I guess you could say, a pivot because we were really, really focused on safety. And we realized that that's actually very valuable, but the position that we had for it's valuable for healthcare, but the position that we had for hospitals, we needed to adjust. And actually, a lot of OEMs are now very interested in it. So we have like a capital planning and budgeting tool, right? Because
because these are assets.
right. So we like completely built our MVP opposite of what is intuitive. We built like a big MVP, and then we kind of like pared down each one of those functionalities to see, like, fast, like, hey, do you like this? No, okay. Do you like this? All right, cool.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Move on. And I say all that to say, like, it's so important to accept what's going on and then to be able to adjust and understand that, like, your path is no one else's path, and just being completely comfortable with the fact that, like, your success is no one else's success.
But I think what was so interesting, both of you all probably started 2 years ago with your companies, with your technologies, all of that. And I think what's so interesting is that, it's like you talked about, you pivoted because you got more and more information from your market. Where a lot of people, 2 years from when they started, many of them have flaked out, have fizzled out. You guys are building your businesses, one part-time, full-time, and one full-time. Okay. So, I think the learnings are very interesting as well, right? Well, you started with an Arch grant, and like you said, hey, the way we built the plan then is not what we're doing today.
Even like us being able to get the partnership that we have with like Allscripts, like us just even changing the way that we're going to look at go-to-market. Because we were like, look, I think Quaker and I are great, but like we need to understand all of the money that's on the table.
And I think you need to fill in the blanks because we know what happened. Maybe you can tell our audience.
So you came to St. Louis with an Arch grant.
Yes.
And
from Houston?
And a hope and a dream. Yes.
From Houston. Right.
From Houston with a hope and a dream and an Arch grant. Dun, 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 dun.
One single suitcase.
Right.
And then, you got to St. Louis with that money. And what happened in St. Louis?
Yeah. So what was incredible here is actually through a relationship that we cultivated from Arch Grants, we were able to meet the company that we now have a partnership with. Literally a year. This took a year to develop that partnership.
Absolutely.
Sure.
And cultivated, signed, executed. And to your point of like the endurance, there's like your mindset on like endurance changes because you look at companies like MailChimp, they started in what, like 2000, 2001, and they're just now seeing a certain level of success. Granted, you had to keep pivoting and changing. And also, I don't know why people look at pivot as such like a dirty word.
It shouldn't.
Because
it's
at
natural and normal.
Right. And you're getting smarter.
Right.
If you don't pivot, either the market hasn't been created or you're just stupid.
Stubborn.
There you go.
So, yeah. And I don't know, being able to kind of look at that and be honest and be real with yourself, with your co-founder, with your team, and say, hey, like, this is where we are. If we want to win, what is it that is going to take for us to win?
Yeah. And so you spent time in St. Louis. You spent a year building that partnership, but you didn't spend the entire year after doing Arch Grants here either. It wasn't actually a favorable fundraising environment.
It was not. I'm just going to be completely honest. Absolutely. It was not. We really struggled here. So we have raised money, but it's been from the coast. We're raising now.
What was some of the feedback from funders here when you talked to them? We're not saying who.
No.
We're just saying what was some of the
I
feedback.
think the
that was different. You raised money someplace else.
Yeah, I think
right?
the most disheartening feedback was a critique on my co-founder, who's the CEO, and it was essentially about whether he was fundable.
Yeah.
And Quaco and I are both very, very critical people of ourselves, right? Like any person, like I like to really look at like, hey, what are we doing? Where are our deficiencies? Because that's how you grow,
Sure.
right? And you don't know everything because if we did, I wouldn't be sitting here. I'd be next to Bezos, hanging out. So like, whatever.
A couple more years, that'll happen.
We still want you on the couch.
I know. Like,
Good luck then. If it's between us and Bezos, you let me know how that goes.
I'll be like, hey, they're cool.
Okay, thank you. I'll remind you we have it on tape.
I know.
Right.
But and it was really disheartening because I asked that individual, like, hey, what are the other deficiencies that our company has? Oh, no, just that. And it really, and I guess I'm just going to be honest. I've always been very conscious of race.
Right.
Like, I've always been conscious of race and class and these different things. However, coming from a Nigerian household, if you work hard, you're going to make it.
Right.
Like, that's all that matters. Work hard, stay in your books, like, do whatever it takes to really, really have that merit. And to have someone who was not going to be able to see that.
Right.
And then kind of blowing that out against like kind of the backdrop of what is the funding landscape in St. Louis. It was just very disheartening.
And it reinforced some of the assumptions that it was going to be hard to raise money here.
Yes.
And that you would need to go somewhere else, which is not the case for everybody. But you did. You had to go somewhere else, right?
It didn't stop you from building your business. It actually pushed you forward.
It propelled, I don't know, maybe I'm one of those crazy people where like when people are like, oh, you can't do this, I'm like, bet. And I get like super like, yeah. So
you guys went out to
Cincinnati.
Cincinnati.
So we went to Cincinnati. We did an accelerator there, which was great. We then raised in in New York. We have a private angel that we raise from, and we're raising now. Arlen invested in our company.
Yep. Arlen Hamilton.
Yeah. So that's what I'm just saying. Like, you have all these plans and you think that, like, oh, the pieces that are directly in front of you are going to align. And those pieces may align, but not necessarily with the variables that you think are right in front of you at that time.
Sure.
And that was like a huge lesson to learn.
But, I think now that you've gone out, you've raised money from other individuals. I think St. Louis is taking another look at you, from my understanding.
Yeah, that's happening. Yes, and I'll just say this, that if an ecosystem is going to support entrepreneurs all the way, like, you should see the diamond in the rough. It shouldn't take outside
all the other validation.
Exactly, to validate a company to then say, oh, well, maybe I do want to get on this train. I think that that's unfortunate. And if St. Louis has a great deal of potential with its ecosystem, however, it will stop short if it keeps having the coast kind of dictate what its moves are going to be. So
that's really insightful.
Here we go.
And on that note, we'll be right back and we'll talk more about your journey.
BioSTL is a proud founding sponsor of this entrepreneurially thinking podcast, and we want you to know all about the great things they are up to. BioSTL Fundamentals is an entrepreneur development program designed to support early would-be entrepreneurs in the life sciences in St. Louis. The program provides a one-on-one customized business learning experience for each participant. You can learn more about BioSTL Fundamentals by visiting BioSTL.org. And for your renewed and continuing support, BioSTL, we say thank you.
Hi, this is Melanie Igwe, co-founder and chief commercial officer for Alerisoft. And entrepreneurially thinking to me means taking risk, understanding who I am, and executing all the time.
So the journey doesn't unfold as we expect. Something we know intuitively and intellectually, emotionally, sometimes that's hard to wrap our brains around. Rachel, you were telling us about sort of the validation you did receive from the industry, which is different. I mean, there does have to be validation points along the way. But to Melanie's point, seeing the diamond in the rough, when you had your video on that big screen, you knew that the room understood the power of what they were seeing,
value.
Right? And the value there. And the feedback you got was that they did see your diamond.
Yeah.
And the potential there. So what's unfolded for you? You've stayed in St. Louis. You haven't been fundraising. You've been building organically.
Yep.
What does that look like for you?
Very similar to the story that Melanie told of building relationships. So Society of Thoracic Surgeons basically started to underwrite CTSNet, which is the Cardiothoracic Surgery Network.
Okay.
And I describe it as the YouTube of cardiothoracic surgery.
So if I just want to get all video that is heart and thoracic all the time, I can just go crazy on that channel. Awesome. And good to know.
And I've been trying to build a relationship with that entity for quite some time, and nothing mattered until they saw my face and they shook my hand.
Right.
They had received emails from me. I met people that I know I'd emailed several times. They're like, oh, that's you? Oh, you had that video? Oh, okay, we can work with you. And that was an element of this business and this journey that was made very apparent to me. Like, people may even trust you a little bit, but it's about staying top of mind and also like kind of staying in their face.
Absolutely. That's business.
Yeah.
And that's healthcare too. I would imagine that the clutter in that space and the race to be innovative and stay competitive is such that you've got to be in front of them all the
Top
time.
of mind.
So we discussed, a potential partnership, collaboration, and they signed a contract. And so they send me cases. My first case was an international case, which was like, that's pretty cool. It really just validates all the thoughts that I had. Is like, I can do this from anywhere. And all we have to use is the tools that are at our fingertips already, which is the internet. So
we love those internets.
We do. The interweb.
And the Googles and all that stuff.
The interwebs.
And then
as long as we don't use the dark web.
no,
I'm not sophisticated enough. I can't even.
or Reddit.
That may lead you to the dark web.
Right.
Absolutely. So, and then there are editors of that network, CTSNet, that are interested in their own thing. So then I started developing a relationship with a physician whose area of concentration is minimally invasive surgery, cardiac surgery. And so I've literally been emailing him. He was like, yeah, your company's so cool. I'm interested in investing. So that was in January. He sent me his first case last week. So it
takes time.
It's the long haul type of thing.
But you're building it brick by brick, and you're getting your name out. Your work is being shown.
Yes.
So, and it's not a crowded market, from my understanding, right?
It's not. I've also been pretty transparent with other companies who are doing something similar, and I'm the only one that's providing the service. So I know that that's a good thing. I'm like cracking that nut very slowly, and I just feel like it's just going to burst very soon. But there are a lot of people that want to just get all this content. They want people to just send them content all the time. But there are a few avenues that want really high quality stuff. And so they haven't known of anyone that can put that content
there was
together.
One company, I think when we talked 2 years ago, that went out of business. So,
in Canada.
So you are like at the pinnacle. You're at the top of the game, right?
Yeah. And I've made money. Like, I don't want to sound like I haven't had a successful year. It's been very successful. But it's provided a lot of perspective, and it's slowed me down to really concentrate me and to focus what I really want to do. And Melanie and I have stayed in contact, and she's such a good role model, friend, peer, sister. Like, we laugh a lot. We do. But when it's
important.
When it's time,
Yeah.
when it's time to get serious, like, she's the person that I go to. When I have an idea, Melanie keeps it 100. Okay, if it's stupid, she's like, nah. But if it's good, then she's like, she asks those probing questions. And so my part 2 of the venture, I've run through her, and she's like, yeah, this is dope. Let's figure this out.
So how are you? And that's what I
those
think.
Relationships.
That's
there's
so
the relationships
key.
that you build with the network that you
Right.
need, but there's the people who go on the journey with you.
Yes. And it's cool that both of you guys are women of color, because we're not represented in entrepreneurship that much.
Certainly
and
not in tech and health.
I was going to say, you guys are in a space that, people in tech and health, we're represented. I'm showing through my finger. And
You're little tiny.
itty bitty. But you guys found each other and your support for each other. Yeah. So how do you take this business, Rachel, that you are doing one-offs? How are you thinking about scaling it?
It has to,
especially as it starts to grow and your name gets
and
out
Melanie's
there.
looking at it, she's like, I know you have ideas. We've talked about them.
Yeah,
I do.
You know the answer to this one.
I do. It has to be supported by schools of medicine or industry. So in some way, the relationships that I'm forming now are, I'm just positive that they're going to influence somebody who sees the potential in this, is going to be willing to sponsor it and underwrite it, because it's something that the physicians want. They don't want to pay for it out of their pocket, but they are more than willing to try to find the money somewhere.
But how are you going to scale and actually doing the service?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you meant...
Well, no, that's an important piece of it. So when the demand, we know where the demand has to come from now, right?
Yes.
And when it comes...
Yes. How are you going to
How do we clone you?
Right.
I've been training other people. So what I found is they're going to... Teaching an editor how to find the story within the surgery is the easy part. Like, if I had to take somebody from scratch, it's like, I want to learn how to edit. Like, I couldn't spend the time doing that. So there are 3 individuals that I started training, and I developed sort of like a curriculum.
That's awesome.
With part 1 training, let me find your baseline. Can you do what I did? Can you basically just replicate this? Part 2, make it a little bit harder. And then part 3 is like a timed test almost. And so, yeah.
And how are you protecting that?
The content?
Yeah, I
The
guess.
intellectual property, the process, all that.
Yes, because you're training people to hopefully not take over your company, take your business.
So all of them have been willing to sign non-competes. And the footage that I use, I just get clearance from a physician that I work with to say, hey, this is what I'm doing. Somebody who's been with me from the beginning, who's fully supportive of
So do you own the content once you create, or the surgeon owns
The
it?
surgeons in their facility owns it.
Okay.
Where the contract that we sign gives me full rights to use it in any type of marketing capacity that
That's
I need
awesome.
to.
That is great.
So you're building your team from organically, like you're sourcing the talent, figuring out how to put them through the paces. Melanie, how are you guys building your team?
Yeah.
I mean, you and Quaco, and then, like you said, you took a sort of an assessment of all the opportunities on the table, and you were talking about that in the context of your co-founder. And so I assume looking at those opportunities also meant looking at who's on your bench and who needs to be on your team.
Right. That's a great question. So our team has grown. I think when we last talked, we had our chief medical officer.
I think so too. Yeah.
But now we have 4 full-time developers.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
Yeah. And that really speaks to your point, right? We wanted to hire people that were interested in working with technologies that were future looking, but could also use technologies that are like okay for today.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Our director of technology, child's just so it's really great to hire people that are like significantly smarter than you because when you're executing your idea, they're like, hey, what about this? And you're like, absolutely.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I think for Quaco and I, what was super important when we hired our team and then started bringing people on was, one, what was their passion about what it is that we're doing? Because we are in healthcare. We're not consumer facing.
You're not making hot dogs.
No, we're not making
But
hot
your
dogs.
passion was about the patient when you first started.
Very
this.
much so. Very much so.
Knowing
So-
where your why is, what's at your heart,
Exactly.
is really important.
And galvanizing people around that is why we have our team. They work extremely hard. That's why I'm really excited for the money that we're raising, because we want to them and
you
really
need to
really
reward those folks and keep them on the team.
Totally. But then also listening to them, right? Each one of them has a very, very interesting perspective. And we don't see them as just developers. What I've noticed is other tech startups will just kind of throw their developers into a cave. Hey, you code all day. That's it.
Right.
Whereas we have in our stand-ups, we integrate them into the business so that they understand from a business, from a product, from a
very
sales, what is it that's actually going on? And they understand that this is really a team. That was super important for Quaco and I. So.
Wow. And as you build the teams and you look at the cultures of your company, how do you see that as a founder? What kind of time and attention, aside from the product and the sales and making money, what is the culture? How are you building the culture of your companies?
So for me, I just feel like it's really about being open. Everyone on our team has the opportunity to just talk to us freely, share their ideas. If there's dissent, which we actually very much welcome, we have one developer that's like, hey guys, what about this? And it's like, you know what? Perhaps actually. And I think being able to have that, being able to have tension, but then be able to say distill it down and say, you know what? That was a very, very valid point. If we're able to look at it through the lens of the product, through the customer, and how that's actually going to translate to greater value, and everyone can be on that ride with us, then that's how we make decisions. So definitely in a collective.
That's good leadership. I mean, yes, you want to hear from everybody, but somebody is a decider.
Right.
And I think as a team member, knowing what lens the decider is looking through, right? Somebody's got to make the decision. But if I understand that it's going through the lens of the customer and the product
absolutely. But you're listening to people.
You have to. I feel like that's
and that's when people feel valued, because you might not always go with what their suggestion is, but everybody wants to be heard.
right.
So.
And that was just a big thing. And just being real, taking my experiences when I was employed. And Kwaku and I, before we even hired anyone, we really talked through, like, what did you hate that your bosses did to you?
Right.
And we listed out, like,
Don't want to do that.
hundreds of things that we didn't like. And we took that and we made sure that as we have a team and we're cultivating people and we want them to grow, right? And we wanted to make sure that there was a space that they could do that because we're paying them good, but like we're also, I mean, we're in Chicago.
Asking a lot of them.
Exactly. We're asking a lot of them. So those other things are making sure that, like, hey, there's a conference, there's an AWS conference that you want to go to. We're going to pay for it so that you can go and learn. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
what is it?
brings value back to your company.
Right. But also, like, we want you to grow as a person and we want you to feel like you're progressing. And that comes through a lot of different ways, like education,
Absolutely.
giving talks. Like, there was a talk that one of our developers gave, Serge, and I had to be at a meeting, but Kwaku went and like supported him as he gave this like really big presentation.
Wow.
And Serge was just really appreciative of like
Absolutely.
the support. So,
Absolutely. Yeah.
Let me
Well,
ask.
let's get Rachel's perspective on team building.
Okay.
It's a little different because I'm not hiring folks full time, and I know what it's like to be a freelancer. So it's almost like I'm adding a tool to their arsenal. So it doesn't hold them down. It gives them an opportunity to work from home. I really enjoy the app, the way that we're building this to where you can do this from anywhere. There are a lot of softwares out there that let you share projects and let you share notes on projects with videos in a very seamless fashion.
But you are finding the right people because a lot of people
Absolutely.
don't work well unsupervised. So
Yeah.
obviously you're finding good people that do that.
freelancer mindset, right?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
also lends itself to that type of self-management.
Absolutely. And then in building the curriculum, I realized something that I didn't so much appreciate and don't appreciate in the corporate world is a way to kind of climb the ladder, for lack of a better term or phrase.
A clear path.
Yeah. So if you're doing part one of the training, or you come in as a junior editor, you should be making this amount. But when you get to the level to where you're editing as fast as I am, or you need less supervision, then you need to make a little bit more money.
Sure.
And so when they know that coming in the door,
Right.
it's easier for someone who already knows how to edit a wedding, a promo, a film, or whatever, to say, okay, maybe I should take a little bit of time to teach myself how to learn how to edit a surgery.
Yeah. Interesting.
So let me ask you this, because our time is coming towards an end. That's why I was like, I got a question for you guys.
I figured we'd stretch a little on this conversation.
Because it's a great conversation. I think for people who have ridden the journey with you from last year to now, what are some of the things that key learnings that you guys have from 2 years ago to now? What have you learned that has been good, been bad, whatever?
I'll speak from a solopreneur perspective. My core group of people that I feel like I can call has been my top priority in maintaining those relationships. And two of those individuals are in this room.
Gotta get on this list.
So
Damn it.
like Cheryl used to be this like untouchable person who,
When did that happen?
you know, well, just when I was Googling you.
Oh, God.
You know, I was like, who is
That's
this
why she doesn't
woman?
call me. I'm untouchable.
Yeah, you're not touchable.
Not untouchable. It's just, you know, you read someone's bio and you're like, damn, they're probably really busy. So, so now that I know that if I know that I have, I need 10 minutes of Cheryl's time.
Sure.
She knows that if I'm calling her, then I need to talk to her.
Yep.
And she's going to give me 10 to 15 minutes.
We were talking one night. I was packing to go
To
on
go
a trip
to
trip.
Xavier, to go
Right.
to
the night before.
Yeah. And she gave me a piece of advice that I needed. Same with Melanie. Like, if I text her and she doesn't text me right back, I know she's going to text me before the day is over.
Yeah.
And I know she's going to get back to me. And I know that if I need to have a conversation, she's going to talk me through it. And one more, Steve Ebner.
Oh, yeah. We
Steve
love Steve.
Ebner is like...
He's a wonderful guest. He is a great insight too.
He's a great person.
Yes.
So Steve is like a granddaddy at this point, right? So he's like...
To the world.
Yes. The first
Yes.
question he always asks me when we talk is, how are you doing? And he's not asking in that, you know, when you see somebody...
Did you raise money?
Headed to the bathroom.
Right.
Like,
How you
and
doing?
you don't really care about their answer.
Right.
Like, Steve, like, I had a bad day a couple weeks ago. And I said, Steve, it's been a, excuse my language, you know, kind of day.
Right.
Yeah.
And he was like, well, what happened? And he actually wanted to know. And then he said, you know, it was so funny because then it turned into business. He was like, Rachel, how much money have you made this year? And I was thinking, why is he asking me that? And I told him, he was just like, did you ever think that you would be making that much money this year? And I was like, actually, no, I didn't. And he was just like, you can have a bad day, but always keep it in perspective of what the bigger picture is.
Absolutely.
I was like, that's why I keep you around, Steve. So I say all of that to say this year has been about patience and relationships and keeping my circle closed, because when I started, I was trying to go to coffee with everybody, go to lunch with everybody, go to every symposium, go to every conference, go to every venture cafe. You can't do that.
You have to be
Cannot do
focused on
that.
your business.
No.
I remember when you and I met, and you were we met because of an NPR podcast. But what was interesting in the conversation, Rachel was like, I'm only doing this so I can, make a little money to go on vacation. And I'm like, are you insane? Do you know what the value you have? And
there are easier ways to make vacation money.
Right. But what's heartening is to see how you have come through this journey and realize the value of
Absolutely.
what you have.
Yeah.
Tremendous value.
So, Melanie, same question.
So what I've learned over the year,
Good, bad, or the other?
good, bad, or the other. So, you know what's weird? They all kind of converge, right? So, like, what has been bad actually has turned out to be good. What I sometimes thought was good, sometimes
Turned out to be bad.
But I'm gonna go in a completely different direction. What I learned to value was me.
That's
I really, over this last year, whether people want to admit it or not, I went through a lot of imposter syndrome. You have a lot of people that are constantly, because you speak well or whatever, are like, oh, you're so smart. And it's kind of like, but when you are a smart person, you realize like the cracks.
Right.
But that doesn't mean you know everything, and that doesn't mean I don't need your help.
Right.
And you're human.
And yes. Yeah. And I think that just being honest, over this last year, getting really comfortable with who I want to be as a woman, who I want to be as a future wife for my boyfriend, who I want to be for like a sister.
Some news coming there? Okay, I'm not saying anything.
Girl can plan and dream now.
It all kind of comes together, right?
Yep.
Because that and the way that you are is pervasive. The way that it's crazy because like the way that you conduct yourself in business is many times the way that you're going to conduct yourself in a lot of other areas.
Sure.
And kind of realizing what's important, what do I really need to focus on, why am I here? I believe in God. Why has God allowed me to be in occupying this space in this time right now?
Because you're a testimony to everybody listening, both of you guys.
Yeah. And also just to a lot of other people that have, like, my parents are immigrants. They sacrificed a lot for I and my siblings to be here. And I just kind of look at things like that now. Like, I owe them, and then I owe my future generations and all the other people that I can help. So
That is.
Well, I don't know how to get on the email, phone call, texting, but I'd really like in.
Be careful what you ask for.
No, and you know, it's frankly just from a really selfish standpoint, because as I go through my own entrepreneurial journey, I mean, Cheryl and I are constantly doing that ourselves. That that level of reflection
Yes.
is something that I'm finding the need for, right? You know, just the ability to step back, to really think about why I'm doing what I'm doing. What does success mean for me?
Yes.
What does time mean, and where I put it, and how do I manage my energy and do all these things? And I think as you get further along, and when you're in roles where you're seen as a trainer and an expert and things like that, you don't always get to have those conversations. So that's my personal on-air bid for getting part of the circle, because those are really profound reflections on who you are and how you are living into being the women and business owners. And imposter syndrome is real.
It is.
And we deal with it all the time.
Everyone
and like you
does.
said, if you're lying if you say you don't.
Right.
For real. Can I say one more thing?
Please.
So you can't be what you can't see. That lives with me all the time. And I love seeing folks like Arlen and Lena Waithe and all of that. But I had to be very careful not to compare my journey to anyone else's.
God,
because
you guys are so smart.
I mean, I have to go home. Like I made the decision to get married. So
you're not going to live in an airport and build a farm. It's
my
just not your
marriage
journey.
needs to come first.
Everybody's journey is different.
Yeah, and then time is I've had a very interesting relationship with time and how I use my time and my energy and I do when and
as we speak.
And I think for entrepreneurs that might be listening, you know, whatever time you got to take it.
Yes.
And don't feel rushed to do anything, because what's yours is yours. Can't nobody take it from you. It's not going to come too soon, and it's not going to come too late.
Everybody's
You're
path
right where you need to
is
be.
different. Exactly.
Right
Exactly.
where you need
And
to
on
be.
that note, that is
We are right where we need to be.
Wow.
With the real pleasure and honor of having you with us again. And
we'll bring you guys back again. And when you
proud
all
of you.
become
and really honored to be part of your journey in some small little way.
And when you all blow up and you sit next to Bezo, you better be saying, I did
Bezo.
Christy and Cheryl.
Bezos, but that's
Bezos.
okay. Whatever, honey. We'll get you on it, and we'll make sure that you're tight before we have that dinner. It's all good. On that note, thank you, ladies. We love you.
Bye, guys. Thanks for having us.
Changing the way you view new ventures, igniting your thinking about entrepreneurship. It's Entrepreneurially Thinking. Get connected and discover more. Visit our website for show notes, resources, information about our guests, upcoming events, and of course, all your favorite episodes. If you have any questions, be sure to leave them for us in the comment sections, and be sure to leave us a 5-star rating on iTunes. The best way to show love is to share. Let everybody know that you're thinking entrepreneurially. So visit our website, entrepreneuriallythinking.com. #ETHINKSTL. Entrepreneurially Thinking is another positive production of Rare Gem Productions. Thanks for listening.